Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Transfer Portal YouTube channel presented by NoContextCFB. We're doing something a little different today because we are getting closer to the college football season. Thank God we get to actually do a little bit more content about this season. And we're going to do a snake draft today. We're going to build our ideal college football offense. Obviously, it's not going to be super ideal because we have 4 people drafting today. Obviously, we have the 3 normal guys. My name's Andrew, Liam Blutman, Matt Townsend, and we have a very special guest today, Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus, also the NFL Draft Stock Exchange or NFL Stock Exchange. How are we doing today?
I am doing great, guys. Appreciate y'all having me on the show. Been a long time since the last time I was on, so it feels like I feel like we were long overdue, but this is a great topic. This is a great way to get people hyped up about college football. So I'm very excited to be a part of it. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to give us a lot of interesting combinations. You're going to see some quarterbacks who, my gosh, we wish we could see them throw to these receivers, or we're going to have some running backs running behind some amazing offensive lines. We did a little wheel before the recording to determine an order. It's going to go in the order of me, Andrew. Second's going to be Matt. Third is going to be Trevor. And fourth kind of sucks for you, Liam, but you're also going to have the 4th and the 5th because this is a snake draft. So kind of makes up for it right there. To kick it off, we're just going to go straight into it. First pick, I got it. And with an offense, the most important position in all of sports, let alone as quarterback. And I'm going to take the best quarterback in the country. May not have won the award last year that determines who the best player was. I'm just going to take CJ Stroud. I love him as a prospect, super complete. I just love his arm throwing that deep ball. It just looks so clean. He's going to have a really big piece of my offense. And he's just so freaking good. He could end up being the first overall pick in next year's draft. And he's got the mobility that you want. So CJ Stroud, first overall pick. I don't think we're going to need to do team names. He's just going to be my quarterback. Second overall, Matt, where are we going?
That threw everything off, Andrew. Thought that was Tanner Morgan.
You did that, let me tell you. JSN is the best offensive player in college football. He is gonna go for 2,000 yards this year. CJ Stroud's throwing to him, and that's gonna be great for me. He's gonna shred off defenses this year. He could go. Anderson's gonna be the number 1 pick most likely, in my opinion. He could be the top offensive player taken if it's not one of the QBs. He almost certainly will be the first non-QB offensive player. So I am ecstatic to get him as the 2nd pick. JSN will be joining my squadron.
Jackson Smith-Njigba possibly could be the first wide receiver in this year's draft. Any analysis on the pick from Liam or Trevor?
Dude, I mean, Smith-Njigba is awesome. I just got done doing some summer scouting, and me and Connor Rogers over at Bleacher Report, who co-hosts the Stock Exchange podcast with me. We went over wide receivers, and he's just so gifted as a slot player. I mean, he gets it so well. You give him those two-way goes, you give him those options, and defenders are just cold right in their feet, man. I mean, they just have no idea what to do because this dude is so good at what he does. He's so fantastic at his craft. I didn't know where you were going, Andrew, with quarterback, because you were like, gonna clearly take the best quarterback in the country. And I'm like, okay. And then you were like, he's just one of the most dynamic players. I'm like, okay, like which one is it? Because it could be Bryce Young, it could be CJ Stroud. So you kind of like had me on the edge of my seat there, but then very confidently picked CJ Stroud, which totally get, man. He's awesome. He's I gotta say, I liked CJ Stroud's tape way more than I thought it would. And I don't know why I went into his tape thinking like, oh, okay, like Ohio State offense, like he's got the best wide receivers throwing to him, like he's not going to be that good. He is really good. He is technically sound. A lot of the fundamentals are already there for him. He was throwing with a ton of confidence as the year went on. So that's a fantastic pick. It's a fantastic pick. I can't fault you at all for it. But 2 Ohio State guys right off the bat. Look at that.
Yeah, and you talked about it. I loved his development throughout the season. I was at his first game. He wasn't great, but he was by no means bad. I mean, there were people on Twitter calling for Quinn Ewers after the first half, which I thought was kind of insane. But then you look a few games down the road. Okay, yeah, this kid's really playing well. And I say kid, he's probably older than me, but he's definitely got it. I love that development. So he has to lead my offense. And with that being said, Trevor, you have your first pick. Where are we going?
Okay. So I can pick any of the format, right? Because for those who are listening, we're forming an offense with quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then a group of 5 flex before an offensive line. I think I'm gonna start with my group of 5 player. I think because there is a name that when you guys sent me the format, I was like, okay, I have to pick a group of 5 flex. And if I don't get Tank Dell, the wide receiver from Houston, I'm going to be mad. So I had the chance to sit down, and I'm picking him. I'm picking Tank Dell here. I had the chance to sit down with Dell to do a feature piece on him for Pro Football Focus. And the recruiting background's kind of crazy, man. He came out of playing high school football in Florida. He was going to go to FIU, and then all of a sudden they kind of like backed out. Like they got cold feet, like they ghosted him on the recruiting trail. And so then he had nowhere to go. He ends up going to Alabama A&M for a year. Then he transfers over to Independence Community College, which for those people who are familiar with the Netflix show Last Chance U, that was where seasons 3 and I think 4 were. He wasn't on the show, but he ends up transferring to that university, plays there for 2 years. Then Dana Holgerson finds him, gets him over to Houston, and he is super dynamic, man. It's crazy because his real name is Nathaniel. His real name is Nathaniel Dell, but they call him Tank. He is 5'5", 165 pounds, man. I mean, like he's 5'8", 155 pounds, I think are the measurables that he actually is. And it's just like this small little wide receiver that Dana Holgerson builds his entire offense around. So I think that a lot of people, if they don't know Tank Dell's name, I wanted to get it on their radar quick. I wanted to get the advantage getting my guy on the group of 5 flex players. So I'm picking Tank Dell. And I didn't think that he was going to be my first pick, but I have to jump on him. I got to do it.
There's definitely a couple positions here where, like, if you clearly just want the best player available at that position, taking it could give you a huge advantage there. So I think that's a good decision.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for, man. He was awesome.
I'm just shocked Liam was the first guy to take a group of 5 flex.
Yeah, that's an upset.
I love Tank, and you talked about FIU. Imagine if we could have seen a wide receiver tandem of Tank Dell and Tyrese Chambers. Wow.
Would have been great.
They messed up not getting him.
They 100% messed up not getting him. Absolutely. And then when he was at Independence Community College, he wanted to transfer to USF because he always wanted to play college in the state of Florida because he's from Florida. And it was the same thing. Like USF was like, okay, like we're gonna bring you on. We're gonna bring you on. And then all of a sudden it was just like they kind of stopped talking to him. He's like, all right, cool. I guess I'll go somewhere else. Now he goes to Houston and they play against USF and he had a big game against them. So a little bit of revenge, a little bit of motivation, but he's awesome, man. I love him.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch as a wide receiver. Like he's one of the reasons alone you should be watching Houston football. Now, there are many other reasons because Houston's going to be great this year, but he's definitely such an explosive player to watch, shifty in the open field. And once again, he's 5'5", but you see this and he's like, wow. Like he's one of those few receivers that's like, yeah, he can get away with being a little bit smaller because he has all of this talent. So Trevor's first pick, Tank Dell of Houston. Liam, to round off the first round, where are we going?
Yeah, also very shocked I'm not the first group of 5 pick. That's interesting. To touch on the whole Tank Dell, Tyrese Chambers thing real quick, let's also not forget with Tyrese, when he was in the portal in December, he was just looking for some contact from Miami, the U, and they never even hit him up. That's just 2 elite group of 5 receivers that could never get, contact from schools that they were potentially interested in going to play for. It's absolutely wild. I'm going to keep my 2 picks short here at the turn. I'm just going to load up the receiver room. I got to take Jordan Addison. I got to take Kayshon Boutte. I get 2 of the best receivers in the country, in my opinion. 2 of the first 3 receivers are going to be picked in the 2023 draft, in my opinion. It's really hard to rank. You got to rank JSN 1, and then figuring out Addison and Boutte as your 2 and 3 when you're ranking top 3 receivers is really difficult. I don't have to have that issue. They're both going to be sharing targets on my team with quarterback TBD throwing to them. I'm really happy about getting those 2 guys at 4-5.
I mean, man, Jordan Addison and Kayshon Boutte. You don't have the quarterback yet, but there's a lot of talented quarterbacks on the
I'll
board.
throw to him
It
if
doesn't,
need be.
it doesn't matter who's throwing to them. I mean, Jordan Addison, I could talk about him for 20 minutes, and I will. Probably not, but because we need to keep this a little bit shorter than 20 minutes for one pick. But Jordan Addison, I loved Kenny Pickett last year. Kenny Pickett does not have the season he has without Jordan Addison. He made some insane catches. He saved Kenny Pickett of multiple interceptions, might I add. And now he's going to go help Caleb Williams, who isn't a finished product. He still has a little bit more, but you see the talent. You see the talent with Caleb. Now he has an elite wide receiver with Jordan Addison. And you talked about Kayshon Boutte coming off an injury, but my gosh, he's still freaking good.
Yeah, Kayshon's awesome, man. The injuries are why he was able to get on the field as early as he was, and that's not really a knock. I mean, he was a 5-star player, but you just saw the yards after catch ability, and I also had the chance to sit down and get to talk with Kayshon, and it's funny if you cherry pick a little bit, if you go last 3 games of 2020. And then I think the first, 4 or 5 games of 2021, if you go within that time span, no receiver had more yards after catch, more yards after contact. He was crazy. He was leading the country in all those things. So totally makes sense that he was off the board. Definitely would have considered him here with my next pick if you would have left him there for me.
Yeah. Matt, do you have anything to say about Jordan or Kayshon?
They talk about 2 really diverse skill sets, because Boutte is going to be your big physical receiver. He's going to break tackles for you at the open field, and then Addison's shifty. He's going to break off routes, be open all over the place. Obviously, they can both do both of those things. They're supremely talented receivers. So I'll throw to him too, Liam. If you want me to throw, I can go. You don't need to draft a quarterback. Let me get my guy. I'll go throw to him.
We might be able to work something out.
Breaking news from the Liam Blutman camp. They're signing Matt Townsend as a UDFA quarterback. This is going to be interesting, folks. Stay tuned. That being said, second pick for Trevor, first pick Tank Dell. Who's the second pick?
Oh, this is so difficult because there are 2 players who I'm sitting here looking at the board and I'm like, I can't let the guys who you 2 who picked in front of me, I can't let you guys have a chance to pick these 2 players, but I only have 1 pick. So I have to pick Bryce Young. I couldn't let Matthew get Bryce Young on the turn, man. I couldn't let him do it. There's no way that shouldn't happen. Bryce Young, reigning Heisman Trophy winner, one of the most dynamic playmakers that we've got in college football. What he was able to do last year was absolutely insane. I went into this draft pretty comfortable with waiting on quarterback. I was like, okay, I don't have to pick this right away. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in college football right now. I don't have to pick these guys. But the more that I was thinking about it, the more I thought about it on the turn, I was like, no, Bryce Young's still here. I got to take it. So reigning Heisman Trophy winner, come on down. He's playing quarterback for my team.
That's going to be a fun little, because Bryce Young is an elite distributor of the ball. He's going to get the ball to Tank and let him do some work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He is.
Fun combo.
Yeah, I would say there are a lot of talented quarterbacks in college football right now, but I would say there is a definitive top 2.
Yes.
And that's CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. So obviously you got to get the quarterback if you love him. And I don't know how you can't love Bryce Young right now. It's pretty tough too. So Matt, you still need a quarterback. Are you going to take one, or are you going to take another skill position?
I am in an interesting spot here in that the best running back in football is still available. And I have who I think is pretty clearly the number 1 wide receiver. And I'm going to take Bijan Robinson out of Texas. I'm going to take the top running back and the top wide receiver in football and let the quarterback figure it out. So
that was who I was debating between. That was who I was like, oh, I can't let Matt have a chance to take either of those guys. But obviously I only had 1 pick to make. So would you have taken Bryce if I had taken Bijan?
I'm giving away a little strategy here, but I would not have.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
All right.
Matt and I have the same strategy.
Liam and I were talking before the draft about the strategy we're going to use, and I had said something about what I was doing, and he said we might have the same. And now I think since we know who the other quarterbacks are, Liam, do you mind if I predict who you're going to take for quarterback?
You can.
Taking will leave this.
I'm not taking them.
Interesting.
Ooh.
I know who I
Hey,
want quarterback. I have this very well thought out. The blueprint is there. I've got the blueprint.
Okay.
Liam's got the whiteboard right over his monitor.
He does.
He's just picking off names.
It looks good right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to mess it up because took CJ Stroud my first pick. Obviously, Trevor wanted Bryce. He got Bryce. He wanted Bijan too. But I was going to take Bryce here. So now I'll take Tyler Van Dyke.
Take another quarterback.
Wait.
You said I wasn't going to take a 2 quarterback system.
Wait,
I'm kidding.
You can't take 2 quarterbacks, can you?
I actually had Clayton Tune as a super flex for my group of 5.
Oh,
So,
that's funny.
Yeah. Then I realized, okay, Liam said no super flex, but so
This
I'm not
guy's
going to be able to take a
drafting
quarterback here.
backups.
I'm going to take, in my opinion, the second best running back in the nation, and I'm going to take. I'll talk about my first pick. Brock has superpowers Bowers.
Oh shoot. He's not draft eligible, so I didn't even think about him.
He's not.
Oh,
Nope.
shoot.
Is that the pun you warned
Got to get
us
those
about?
sophomores, man.
Word.
Brock has superpowers Bowers.
Damn.
The best tight end in the nation. When you
Yep.
think of dominance, when you flip to the D in dictionary and you
Yep.
go to DOMINANCE, you see a picture of Brock Bowers. If I don't hear an announcer on CBS say Brock Bowers has superpowers as he's going down the sideline, this college football season is in ruins. CJ Stroud has Brock Bowers, and in the backfield, he's going to have Travion Henderson, one of the best
That's
runners,
weird.
and also one of the best wide receivers, or one of the best receivers out of the backfield. Not super parity because they both play for the Buckeyes, but that's a duo I can't take apart.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm
really
actually-
amped up.
I can't complain about having more of the Ohio State offense. That's never a bad thing.
I'm actually mad that I totally forgot about Brock Bowers because he's not draft eligible. I'm actually mad about it.
Yeah,
It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
I will take that. CJ Stroud, have fun. This is going to be a fun offense. But Matt, you don't have CJ Stroud. You don't have Brock Bowers. You still need a quarterback. You still need a tight end. Are you going to take either of those positions, or are you going to take
I am
a
gonna
5
take
flex?
one of those positions. I'm going to take Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. He was not the
Nice.
top tight end in football, but he is the top tight end, top draft eligible tight end in football. He might go in the first round this year. He is really, really good. He's a good blocker, good receiver, good route runner, physical over the middle. He is going to do well in this year. So I'm going to have right running back, wide receiver, tight end, all of who could go at the top of their class.
Yeah. So Matt is kind of doing his thing right now. Number 1 wide receiver, possibly. Number 1 running back, most likely. Number 1 tight end, if I had to guess. Are we losing right now?
I hope so.
Who is?
I mean, Matt has an insane team. He has the number 1 skill positions. Now, granted, he doesn't have one of the top 2 quarterbacks,
Doesn't have a quarterback. It's all
He has a jugs machine throwing
right.
Oh, well, Matt, you're doing a good job right now. Trevor, the 3rd pick, it's going to have to be a good one to match up with that team.
You know what? I'm gonna stick to my guns here. And I'm going to go with a running back prospect who I have as my number 2 guy coming into the season right behind Bijan Robinson, and that is Syracuse's Sean Tucker.
Oh, dang it.
I love Sean Tucker, man. He is such a fun player. Almost 1,500 yards last year, 12 rushing touchdowns, averaged over 6 yards per carry. He is big, he is physical, but he is also fast. He's a lot faster and a better athlete than you would think from a guy of his size. And I really do. I think he's one of the most underrated backs in the country, not just from a college football standpoint, but also NFL draft standpoint. So I'm sitting here and I got to preach the gospel of Sean Tucker. So I'll have him as my first running back off the board for my team.
He is pleased with his draft stock right now, and it's only going to get higher.
Should be.
Best tweeter in the country.
Easily.
Yes.
I mean, Sean Tucker's tweets, it's just like a weekly thing. You have to have his notifications on.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Everybody in the comments is just the, hey, babe, wake up, new Sean Tucker tweet. It's just insane. And what he has on Twitter, he also has on the football field. Insane player. Like you said, I think he's an underrated running back prospect. Just so fun to watch. Syracuse wasn't great last year, but Sean Tucker made them a lot more bearable to watch.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Liam, you don't have Sean Tucker. Are you going to take your first running back, or are you going to take your group of 5 flex like I think you are?
Potentially could be going running back here with one of these picks. I mean, I will be. Let me think what I want to do with this other pick, though. I'm in between two people. You know what? With the first pick, I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, Alabama, formerly Georgia Tech, electric player that's going to really help us out in the receiving game. That's why I was looking for it. That's what I'm really excited about with Jahmyr. I think he's a dynamic talent that has the absolute juice. I'm so glad he's not Georgia Tech anymore, helping his draft stock tremendously. Can't wait to see what he does for the Tide this season. And with my next pick, I think they were taking tight ends. I'm just going to take mine too. I'm going to take Michael Trigg from Ole Miss. I think this is the guy that you're going to see actually win the Mackey this season. I'm going to take Trigg, and we're going to load up on offense with Jahmyr Gibbs, Michael Trigg, Jordan Addison, and Kayshon Boutte.
I love Gibbs.
Wow.
Gibbs is actually my second rated running back. He's so smooth. He reminds me so much of Alvin Kamara. He looks so fluid in the open field.
I will let you in on a secret. If Liam didn't take him there, he was absolutely going to be my pick around the turn.
Thank goodness.
I was gonna take him. So it's a good thing you took him where you did, because he wouldn't have lasted very long.
Good to hear that.
Well, Trevor, back on the clock.
Dude, I just said that I was going to take Jahmyr Gibbs if he was there, but I am more than okay taking this next player who I think is in for a massive year. I'm going to go back to the running back. Well, I'm taking Blake Corum up at Michigan. Man, he almost had 1,000 yards rushing, and that was while he was splitting time with Hassan Haskins, man. If you give this guy a full workload, Liam talked about Jahmyr Gibbs having the juice, and he does. Blake Corum absolutely does as well. This was one of the most athletic playmakers in all of college football. He had 24 catches last year as well, so they use him plenty in the receiving game. I think he is a true potential 3-down back. I know he's a little bit shorter, but he's stockier, he's bigger, he's got a ton of muscle on him, he's got a really great build, and I think he can do everything for that Wolverines offense. I think you're going to see him really be used as truly one of those best playmakers in college football. I think he's going to have over 1,000 yards rushing. I think he's going to have somewhere close to 300 yards receiving as well. They're going to lean on him so much. So I'll go with Blake Corum for my flex spot.
I was pounding the table for him to get more touches last year, even with Haskins.
Dude, he is so good. He's so good.
I mean, Blake Corum's a heck of a pick. So that's just an insane backfield. That I'm just in shock. I don't know what else to say.
Unless
run defenses beware.
Unless Sean Tucker gets a little mad that Corum's taking some of his carries and goes.
No. We're using Blake Corum as the true offensive weapon. Like, we're lining him up in the slot. We're using him in the backfield with Sean Tucker.
Oh, Debo.
Like, we're good. True Debo Samuel role right here.
That's a dub.
So you essentially just drafted Debo Samuel. So I think we all lose because that's an NFL player. But these are all future NFL players.
That's
so,
also
Matt,
legal if he's drafting NFL players. So I think that's
I mean, I did see a graphic on Twitter where someone was talking about how Brian Robinson still has Heisman odds. So I think we're good. Matt, you have your 4th pick. Are you going to take your second running back, or are we going to go in a different direction?
I am going to take my second running back, but he is going to be from the group of 5. I'm going to take the FBS's leader in all-purpose rushing yards, Lou Nichols.
Crap. I was going to take him with my next pick. Screw you.
Oh, man, you love it when that happens.
Nothing better than being in a draft and hearing multiple expletives on the keyboard.
I mean, Lou Nichols. When you talk about a guy, you usually think, man, Lou Nichols was the second best running back in his state, and he was still freaking insane. Like, that's crazy to think.
Yeah.
He's gonna have such a good year this year.
Love me some action.
W.
Maction is strong with this one. All right. Time for my next two picks. CJ Stroud, Brock Bowers, Travion Henderson. Should I go wide receiver? Probably, but I would be upset with myself if I did not take my guy, who I feel is still getting slightly underrated as a running back because he is coming off an Achilles injury. Give me my guy, Mohamed Ibrahim. He is such a good runner. People kind of forget he had like 160 yards in 2.5 quarters against Ohio State, and he was the reason Minnesota was in that game. Such a good runner, one of the most acclimated guys when it comes to getting touchdowns in the Big Ten over the last few years. He is a little bit older, so draft fans may not be super high on him. I know Liam isn't a fan of guys that are above the age of 22.
Not 22. Gosh.
I mean, you have okay, but I know you have said you don't like guys that are 23 because of the age.
Well, it depends on previous production when it happened too,
but having that high of age is a downside for you.
Potentially, yeah. It is with Muhammad too, in my opinion, especially. I have to see what happens this season too. But coming off the leg injury too is just worrisome, and with how much production he has, which it doesn't matter for this either because it's college stuff, but for NFL stuff, his profile kind of scares me.
And you know what? In this simulation, everyone's fully healthy and everyone's going at 100%. Mo going at 100% is very freaking scary. As said his head coach, he is a bowling ball with razor blades. That's pretty freaking good. So Mo Ibrahim will be the second tailback alongside Travion Henderson. So that is the flex. And now I feel like I kind of have to go. I'm kind of messing with myself because of my group of 5 flex I have written down. Most of them are running backs. So this is kind of unfortunate because my one wide receiver was Tank Dell. So thank you, Trevor. But I also kind of did a disservice to myself by taking 2 running backs. Yeah, I don't blame you. But, man, I think wide receiver, I kind of want to go Xavier Worthy from Texas. He is explosive playmaker. Him and Nair this year are going to do some damage. You know, we're going a little bit lower on the wide receiver scale, but I'm totally fine doing that after getting some other great offensive pieces. Xavier Worthy can blow the top off of defense.
He, again, would have been my pick if he got around to me. So not too far from where he might have gone. If he would have lasted 2 more picks, he would have been on my team.
So now I'm happy I took him because now I have a wide receiver, and Trevor now needs to look at another wide receiver. I will take that as a win for me.
That's true.
All right, Matt, where are we going?
I think I will also be drafting another wide receiver in orange. I'm going to go ahead and take Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. I have JSN as a slot guy, so now I'm getting a bigger body. 6'2", had 1,200 yards last year. Love Hendon Hooker. He's going to sling the rock around. I'm going to take Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee, and that is going to be my wide receiver too.
I loved watching Cedric last year, especially in the bowl game where Tennessee and Purdue just decided to have the best bowl game last year, which was kind of surprising. I mean, who thinks the Music City Bowl is going to be the most exciting bowl? Obviously, the Rose Bowl was there, but man, that was a fun game. Cedric Tillman was a massive part of that. Can't wait to see what he does this year with Hendon Hooker. So now we're moving on. Trevor, you got your next pick. You can't have Xavier Worthy. Cedric Tillman is also off the board. Are you going to go wide receiver, I assume, right here?
I am going to go wide receiver, and I figured that I could wait a little bit and get my boy, and this ended up being the case. I'm going to go A.T. Perry, the wide receiver from Wake Forest. Dude, A.T. Perry was really impressive last year, and he's going to continue to fill up the stat book this year from what we saw the previous season. Sam Hartman's coming back, so he's got that connection there. No Ja'Cory Robinson, so there's nobody really getting in the way, if you will, which we couldn't even say that last year. Perry almost had 1,300 yards, 15 touchdown catches. I mean, like, this dude was an absolute monster. We've got Lil Tank Dell, 5'10", 155 pounds, playing in the slot, and now we've got 6'5" A.T. Perry playing on the outside. And so that's exactly what you want to see. Really love this dude's tape. He's my wide receiver 1 going into the preseason when it comes to the NFL draft. I think that highly of him. So very happy that my strategy paid off, and I got him a little bit later in this draft.
Yeah, that's definitely 2 very different wide receivers that Bryce Young is going to be throwing to, but 2 very talented wide receivers at that. Liam, speaking of, you still don't have a quarterback. Are you going to finally take one, or are you going to stick to your guns and keep on taking offensive talent and wait on quarterback?
I don't need a quarterback yet. Don't need one yet. I've got an interesting decision here to make. I am considering 2 group of 5 players that I might take. I might have 2 group of 5 players. I'm not sure. I think they're a lot better than where they are at group 5 schools, but I also am considering offensive line here. This is interesting. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Zachary Franklin from UTSA as my group of 5 flex. I'm going to lock that in. I'm getting an absolute monster at receiver who is going to demand targets in the red zone for QB TBD. He's going to complement Addison and Butte really, really well, in my opinion. I really like getting Zachary Franklin here. He runs a nasty slant route too, and then just off that slant, when he's able to sell it and then go deep and hit a big play downfield, I think he's a really good receiver that's extremely underrated, in my opinion. I can't wait to see him blow up this season with a truly dominant 2022 season. So I'm excited to add him. You know what? I'm gonna go with the offensive line. I'm gonna take the Georgia offensive line. It's hard to say who the best offensive line is before the season starts, but I think the Georgia offensive line is going to be up there as one of the best again. I like what I'm getting with the pieces on the offensive line at center. You have Cedric Van Pran, who is as consistent as they get. He is, in my opinion, the best center in the country now that Linderbaum is gone. Van Pran is going to go out in space for us. He's going to help Jameer with the screen game. It's going to be really fun to see what Van Pran could do in this offense with his skill set. I think he's going to blow up the season too and really help his NFL draft stock out. I think he's a guy that could be a late first round pick. So I'll go with the Georgia offensive line.
I think a good way to look at how productive the Georgia offensive line was is the different kind of backs that produced with them last year. Zamir White produced, James Cook produced. Like they could do it in a number of different ways.
And
the first offensive line's off the board.
I was going to say, and they're getting Broderick Jones to actually play full time now, and that's pretty absolutely terrifying because he's an unbelievable player who didn't even make the field last year just because they had so many good players, and now they just get to slot him in at left tackle, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be frightening.
Yeah, he's awesome.
First offense line's off the board. Trevor, are you going to follow suit?
No, I'm not. I don't know if I need to take this player now, but I'm going to. I'm going to take Arik Gilbert, the tight end who now plays at Georgia, played at LSU, former 5-star guy, committed to Florida in the transfer portal for like 2 weeks and then decided that he wanted to go to Georgia. It was kind of reported that he showed up at Georgia's camp at like 300 pounds, which is objectively not great. But guys, I went back and I watched his LSU tape and I was audibly laughing. Like I was laughing out loud watching this guy's tape. He is truly he's one of the highest ceiling tight ends I've ever watched. I don't know how else to say it. If this guy achieved his full potential, we're going to be watching him in the NFL for the next 10 years. Now, there's a lot that has to happen for him to get to that point, but he is a true freak athlete kind of a player at the tight end position. His mismatch ability at its best is up there with Kyle Pitts. And I do not say that lightly because Kyle Pitts was unbelievable. And he was picked number 4 overall in the NFL draft because of it. But Arik Gilbert, I don't know where he's going to play at Georgia because Brock Bowers is there. I don't know if they're going to use him more at wide receiver, but for now he's listed at tight end. So I'm going to get him on my team as a tight end, and I'm going to shore up that position with a lot of talent.
They have a fun tight end duo.
Yeah, no, and not only that, Darnell Washington is 6'8", like 300 pounds as a tight end too. It's crazy. They've got the wildest tight end trio in all of college football. It's nuts.
Georgia, can you let some other teams have good tight ends?
Yeah, please.
This is getting a little unfair.
As a Florida grad, can Georgia like just calm down a little bit? I'm not trying to watch Georgia win another national championship. I'm really not.
Well, at least you had Kyle Pitts. So
we did have Kyle Pitts, and that was fun. The times were fun.
It was a lot of fun. So you talked about his potential is freaking enormous, athletic specimen. Great pick. I'll say. Matt, you can't have him. Are you going to have a second tight end? Or I guess you can't. Or actually, you can.
You could.
You could as your flex. You know what? Are you going to do it?
I am not, though. I'm going to stick true to the word of the flex, and I'm going to take a true offensive weapon, someone who's used all over the field. I'm going to take Keaton Thompson out of Virginia.
Oh, my gosh. That is the definition of flex.
He is used at wide receiver. He's used at Wildcat QB. He's used in the backfield. He is used everywhere.
Truly, yeah.
Big dude, 6'4", 217. He is a big body. He's a mismatch all over the field. So I'm going to take Keaton Thompson. I'm going to run with him.
This dude took a flex with his flex pick. Hello?
So literal.
What the?
You know what? He did technically follow the rules. He did take a flex. So you can't be mad at him.
That's true.
So
what?
Super talented.
Take Champ Fleming's.
No, I'm going to actually, if I could, I would take Seth Green, who was both a tight end and a Wildcat quarterback. I don't know how much he did at Houston, but he was definitely that at Minnesota. Unfortunately, I can't. So now over here, my flex is gone. My running back is gone, quarterback, one of my wide receivers, and my tight end. Part of me wants to say this is where I just shore up that offensive line, make sure I get the team. I think I'm going to go Ohio State. I'm very sure of their tackles. It's kind of weird not going Michigan because they did just win the award for best offensive line, but they did lose a decent amount of production. I like that Paris Johnson's finally going to be able to move outside the tackle. I think that does help a lot. And now I feel kind of bad because I've taken 3 picks as Ohio State. So I don't know if I'm really following the rules correctly, but that just shows how
they have a good offense.
They have a great offense. I'm following the blueprint that they've set up because they've been successful with it. Can't blame me with that one. So I have my offensive line. And now I'm going to take my second wide receiver. I'm going to take Jacob Cowing, the wide receiver from Arizona, transfer from UTEP. I loved him last year. He put himself on the map during that week 0 game where usually people don't watch UTEP versus, I believe it was New Mexico State. Yeah. But he showed out. He was insane. He was the best player that week. And he just continued off of that multiple games where he was well over 100 yards. Going to be a fun player to watch at Arizona this year with this team that has a lot of transfer talent. He's going to be getting balls from Jaden DeLora. Arizona could be a sneaky good, and by good, I mean a few wins rather than 0 or 1, which we've seen a little bit in the past. Cowan's going to be a big part of that. He's going to be a big part of this offense as well. So now we're going to go back to Matt. After that actual flex pick, can't take a second one. I mean, technically it could if they have a legit position.
And
where are we going?
I'm going to finally take my quarterback, and I'm going to take my favorite quarterback in this class. Someone I started watching almost entirely last year because of a wide receiver he was throwing to in Charleston Rambo. I'm going to take Tyler Van Dyke out of Miami, a gunslinger. So I started watching Miami last year because I love Charleston Rambo at Oklahoma, and I wanted to see what he can do with the full palette of a number 1 wide receiver. And I saw Tyler, and I'm like, this kid's throwing the ball real good. And then in the second half of the season, he was like the 3rd or 4th best QB in college football. And now he's going to be probably a first-round pick, barring something crazy this year. But I like Tyler Van Dyke a lot. And I'm going to get him before Liam can take him with my last pick. I don't know if he would have taken him, but he is the last person who needs a quarterback. So that is where I'm going to take him.
Van Dyke.
I thought you were going to be his quarterback.
Van Dyke's awesome. He's really, really good.
Yeah. I love Van Dyke. I have no doubts about his talent. Just this year, I'm worried about the talent outside of him. That's my only question with Miami is, can they give him talent at the wide receiver position? But he is such a good quarterback. So good pick. He's going to have talent on your team. Trevor, where are we going to go right here?
This is a player who I think might be a better NFL player than college football player. So I don't know if I'm doing this correctly, but I love his tape and he's fantastic. I just don't think he has a great quarterback throwing him the ball. It's Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver from TCU. Yes. Highlight film, you just sit back and watch in awe, man. You just love what he's able to do. And again, you got to understand the offensive setting up here, right? We got Tank down the slot. We got the 2 running backs as the offensive weapons. We got a skyscraper 6'5" A.T. Perry, and now we've got Quentin Johnston 6'4" as well on the outside. So we're building the size to go along with the great offensive surround with Bryce Young. So I think that he's fantastic. He is a big-bodied wide receiver who can win at the catch point, but he can also beat you vertically. That's his game. It totally is. He's doing everything on a vertical plane. It's either a 9 routes, either a comeback, it's a stick, it's something where he is to the sideline. He's very comfortable with it, but he does it very, very well. I wish that he had a better quarterback situation in TCU because I think that he could put up big-time numbers, but we'll see what he's able to do this year. Again, I think he might end up being a better pro than a college player, but betting on the talent, one of my favorite wide receivers in all of college football.
I couldn't share him, but as an Eagles fan, I am too wounded by TCU wide receivers that I couldn't do it.
That's fair. That's very fair. It's very fair.
Yeah. I will say, I believe it was the Oklahoma game where he just dominated. And
yes,
Keandre went off.
Yeah, we talk about Oklahoma last year. That was one of the games where it's like, this game shouldn't be that close. Yeah. But Quentin was a massive reason that TCU was like that. And I completely agree. This is an amazing pick. Whether it's a college football player or an NFL draft prospect, love this pick.
There's some idiots, though, that did think TCU was going to win that game. Totally wasn't me, but, possibly you too, Andrew.
I don't know what we had for the picks that week. I probably went OU because it was the safer pick, but
I definitely thought TCU was winning that game. I don't know why.
I thought they were winning when it was like the third quarter. I thought they were going to win.
I was really disappointed with the collapse. Are these the last 2 picks of the draft?
Yes. I believe it is.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's
Okay. Well, first off, I don't understand why Caleb Williams is still here. I thought he would have been one of the 3 quarterbacks taken. Kind of ruins things because the quarterback I did want the whole time is Devin Leary. But now I'm in between Leary and Williams, and that's really weird. I'm not sure what to do. I kind of built my offense around Leary and just letting him be an absolute gunslinger in this offense the whole time. But Caleb's there, and that's really cool. But I think first, let me take my flex. Let me take Rakim Jarrett. Kind of in that same thing as Quentin Johnston, where I think he's going to be a much better NFL player than college player. I think Rakim Jarrett is an absolute goon. I love him. I think he's going to be really good. There's kind of these underlying, things in his profile that relate directly to Stephon Diggs, 5-star receiver from the DMV. Not going to much better schools that offered him, going to Maryland instead. Production's a little low through 2 years, but if you look at both him and Diggs' stats after 2 years, they're eerily similar. The 3rd year, I think you're going to see a huge uptick in Jarrett's production. I hate comparisons too, but I just think comparing them that way is cool. Jarrett is a precise route runner that has a great combination of explosiveness and killer speed. I'm going to love playing him into this offense. He's going to be really fun to use in multiple ways, versatility-wise. Not like Keaton Thompson as a true flex, but we're going to figure out ways to get Rakim the ball and just let him do work. And I don't know what to do at quarterback because it doesn't make sense to let Caleb Williams go undrafted, and we're all going to get canceled if that happens. But I built the offense around Devin Leary, and I really want to take Devin Leary. So I'm just going to take Devin Leary because I think he's set up to go absolutely nuclear this season. I mean, what you have, like what he did last year never got talked about enough because of what else was happening in the ACC, primarily with Kenny Pickett. Leary is an absolute monster, and I can't wait to see what he does this season. You're looking at a guy that has an absolutely mesmerizing spiral. It'll put kids to sleep. It's like a lullaby, that spiral. It's beautiful. I think you're going to see him take the college football world by storm. NC State's going to over-exceed their expectations, and it's in due part because of what Devin Leary's going to do. Well, he have 35 touchdowns last season to 5 interceptions. Thinking about what he's going to do this year when he's an already older player. Yes, he is an older player, but he has the production to back up where he's been at. It's scary thinking about what he'll do in 2022, and I think people need to start believing now. I think he's the QB3 in the class.
He's really good. Devin's a really good dude too. I got to sit down with him and talk with him a little bit. And you mentioned he's a little bit older. And the reason why maybe he hasn't broken out as soon as people thought is because, okay, he came in right away. Ryan Finley was still there, 6-year player. So he redshirted that season. Next season came in and he had his chance to start, but it was kind of a back and forth battle with him just being a redshirt freshman, ends up starting the last 6 games of that season, goes into 2020, is supposed to be the starter, like was supposed to be the redshirt sophomore starter. Didn't even get COVID. He was a close contact and had to quarantine, even though he tested negative. So that means he missed the first couple of games of the season, came back, got the starting job back right away, and then had the fractured fibula immediately after that. So that entire year was gone. And then what we saw last year, that was the first year that he was fully healthy in a non-COVID year. So there's a lot of reason to believe that, like, okay, yeah, he's a little bit older, but it's understandable why he's still there. And I agree. I hope that he has a fantastic season this upcoming year because it'd be a lot of fun if he does.
Mm-hmm. He plays with such great poise. His ball placement's impeccable. I can't wait to see him throw darts in real life and to my fantasy offense here.
Yeah, Devin Leary thrown to Zachary Franklin. Good luck defenses. Speaking of good luck defenses, Trevor, you have your final pick for the offense. Where are we going right here?
It's offensive line, and I guess I got to pick Michigan, right? Michigan's still there. Yeah. I didn't miss that. Michigan, one of the best offensive lines in the country last year. Didn't lose too much. I know they lost Stuber and then their center as well, but I mean, they're Michigan. They're reloading. They've got 5 stars coming and replacing those guys. So it's one of the best offensive lines in the country, no doubt about it. It would be criminal for me to pick an offensive line other than Michigan here, I think. So I got to go with the Wolverines.
Yeah, that's a great pick. It was between them and Ohio State for me. Speaking of offensive lines, Matt, you're kind of stuck. Offensive line, where are we going?
I planned on waiting the entire draft. I'm waiting on QB and waiting on offensive line because I liked the options that I would have for almost as much. Obviously, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are better than Tyler Van Dyke, but I like Tyler Van Dyke a lot. Though Michigan is better than who I'm going to take, but I like the Utah offensive line a lot.
Oh, nice.
I think they have 2 really good draftable prospects in Braden Daniels and Satoa Lamea. And I think they have the advantage of playing in the Pac-12, so not playing up against much in terms of defensive lines. So I think if you look at the statistics last year, they were top 20 in pretty much every like analytical stat in terms of like push yards, yards before contact, that kind of thing. So I like the Utah offensive line a lot. I'm going to take them as my last pick.
Well, there it is, Utah. Congratulations, you're on Matt's team. That brings up the final pick of the draft. I am still yet to take my group of 5 flex, and I feel like it would be a travesty if I did not pick friend of the transfer portal, Tyrese Chambers, who we talked about a little bit earlier at FIU. He is going to fit in very well with an offense that has Xavier Worthy and Jacob Cowing. Going to be a fun passing offense to watch, and that caps off the draft. Thank you, everybody, for getting through. We're going to just recap everything real quick. I had the first pick, quarterback CJ Stroud, running backs Travion Henderson, Mo Ibrahim, wide receivers of Jacob Cowing, Tyrese Chambers, and Xavier Worthy. And, you know what? A little bit of Brock Bowers in there, because why not? Matt, you are quarterbacked by none other than Tyler Van Dyke. Running backs of Bijan Robinson and Lou Nichols from Central Michigan. Let's see, you got Cedric Tillman, Key Thompson, Michael Mayer as a tight end. Oh, and also, a little bit of Jackson Smith and Jigba with the Utah offensive line. Trevor had Bryce Young quarterbacking his offense. That backfield of Sean Tucker and Blake Corum. Wide receivers.
Oh, baby.
Wow. Tank Dell, A.T. Perry, Quentin Johnson. That's great wide receiver core, offensive line of Michigan. Can't go wrong with that. And Liam, you're quarterbacked by Devin Leary. Running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs. And actually, now that I'm looking about it, that's your only running back because your flex was a wide receiver.
We're not going to be running the ball too much, are we?
Spread and shred, baby.
Yep. That's how you got to love a little bit of college football. Spread, offense with Liam. Wide receivers, just take a little second right here to enjoy this. Kayshon Boutte, Jordan Addison, Zachary Franklin, tight end Michael Trigg, offensive line of Georgia. That's freaking.
Kim Jarrett.
And for Kim Jarrett. Oh yeah, you have four wide receivers.
Yeah. And I am not signing Matt as my UDFA QB. I'm just going to sign Caleb Williams as my UDFA
Breaking news.
Recruiting is crazy.
Yeah, we'd be crewing over here. It doesn't happen much for UCLA people, but we figure it out.
Matt losing contact like some wide receivers lost contact with some Florida colleges, but we'll let that be. Thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff everybody else tells you to do. If you have a pick that we maybe missed out, maybe a player that got snubbed, let us know in the comments below. Follow us on TPortalCFB. Follow Trevor Sikkema. Thank you so much for joining Tampa Bay Trey on Twitter. NFL Stock Exchange, wonderful podcast. I listen to it myself. Very much enjoy. Thank you everybody for listening. Have a great day.